Good evening, this is your AI host, Jay. I'm here with the automatically generated Journato evening headlines on September 22, 2022. Republicans won't commit to honoring vote results this fall. That's troubling. The Guardian, analysis, meet the Republicans who might not accept defeat in November. Welcome to the First Blokes Club. What can Hugh O'Leary expect as the Prime Minister's husband? Backed into a corner, Vladimir Putin is lashing out with huge repercussions. The Independent, why Putin's escalation of war in Ukraine could give him pretext to resort to nuclear strike. Sky News, Putin has exhausted supply of willing volunteers, says UK defense chiefs. Evening Standard, The Guardian view on Putin's military escalation, a failing strategy. The Guardian, Vladimir Putin's desperate roll of the dice. UK criticised for failing to boost contribution to Global Fund. The Guardian, UK under pressure after pledging nothing to fund fighting HIV, TB and malaria. The Telegraph, world leaders pledge billions to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria on UN sidelines. Reuters, Coveney unveils €110 million fund to tackle global disease, child hunger. The Irish Times, Global Fund gets powerful help with $18 billion funding goal. DeSantis News, Live, migrant flight funding revealed as Florida governor's polls surge. The Independent, Biden rattled by Republican exploitation of migrant crisis. The Times, DeSantis sued for sending migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Bloomberg, DeSantis News, Live, Martha's Vineyard immigrant flight funding revealed as Florida governor's polls surge. The Independent, Florida lawmaker plans to file lawsuit to block more DeSantis migrant flights. Israel, is this an ultra-Orthodox Me Too moment? Adnan Syed case, DNA results loom as state faces deadline to retry serial podcast subject for murder. The Independent, Serial, how a podcast helped Adnan Syed become a free man. The Guardian, Serial, the podcast that took the law into its own hands. The Telegraph, Adnan Syed case, Live, DNA results loom as state faces deadline to retry serial podcast subject for murder. UN showdown looms between Lavrov, West over atrocities in Ukraine. Reuters, Foreign Secretary to demand justice for Ukraine invasion victims as he faces Russian counterpart at UN. Gov. UK, Foreign Secretary to condemn Russian atrocities in Ukraine at UN meeting. The Independent, video, watch live, UN Security Council meets on Ukraine. The New York Times, Foreign Secretary James Cleverly meets with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, September 2022. This land belonged to us, Nestlé supply chain linked to disputed indigenous territory. Iran police battle protesters in Tehran as unrest over woman's death spirals. BBC, Iran blocks capital's internet access as Amini protests grow. The Guardian, Iran, Mahsa Amini's father accuses authorities of a cover-up. BBC, Opinion, Mahsa Amini's death highlights the tyranny of Iran's hijab enforcers. Scotland's papers, Putin's nuclear threat and Truss tax gamble. BBC, outrageous acts, Joe Biden condemns Russia's nuclear threats against Europe. The Independent, Kyiv urges West to spell out how it would respond to Russian nuclear strike. The Guardian, an off-ramp for Putin is repugnant but necessary. Bloomberg, Putin's nuclear threat, a guide to how Biden might decide to respond. Shaun Pinner, Briton released in Russia-Ukraine prisoner swap, pictured with his family as all 5 captives return to UK. Sky News, Ukraine war, Kremlin denies Russians fleeing to avoid army service as flights sell out and queues seen at border, live. The Guardian, Russia and Ukraine exchange nearly 300 prisoners of war. The Telegraph, 5 UK prisoners released by Russia arrive in Briton, non-profit group. Reuters, Adnan Syed among 10 international prisoners of war, released by Russian authorities. Russia protests, more than 1,300 arrested at anti-war demonstrations. The Guardian, hundreds arrested and flights out of Moscow sell out amid Russia military call-up. BBC News. BBC News, Putin flirts again with grim prospect of nuclear war. This time he might mean it. The Guardian, Ukraine and the US should take Putin's nuclear threat seriously. Bloomberg, Opinion, Putin's Ukraine threats should stop the West's resistance. This was all for the news. Thanks for listening. Please do not forget to like and subscribe.